Bobby Slayton, everybody. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you.
The reason I'm asking is every time I do these things or the Skype thing, there's always something wrong with my microphone. But here's the thing. This is a great segue because you're speaking about scary and working in the middle of nowhere and killing. That's exactly what I'll be doing this weekend at Cap's Bar and Grill in the little town of Brentwood, California.
Come on.
It's in the middle of nowhere. And my show is very scary. And I'll be killing a lot of people, because that's what comics do. You kill,
it's this
you murder.
weekend. It's this weekend. Kim, can you put the banner up to indicate that it's this weekend for Bobby? It's not in July. It's this weekend.
Why'd you have July?
I can't hear Kim, but yeah. I can't hear Kim.
Hi,
still.
Bobby. It's because your website indicates the show's in July.
Oh, my website says July?
Yeah.
No, I think no, in July, doesn't it say the show in Montreal?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Blow it up big, Tony.
Did I screw up in the days my web people screw up? Okay, sorry about
Slayton,
that. Wow.
It does say July 21st.
It's actually, you know what? I got to fix that. It shows you how often I don't. Well, see, I don't do.
Oh, even the nights are wrong. Aren't you going to be up there? Aren't you up there? You're not there Sunday and Monday. You're up there this weekend.
Okay. I don't know if that was my web person's fault or my fault, but I'm going to.
Somebody has to pay for this. I think you have to get rid of somebody. I don't know.
Yeah. That's
anyway,
really interesting.
It's Cap's Oak Street Bar and Grill in Brentwood, California, Northern California this weekend. So
no wonder I'm not selling any tickets. I got to do your dumb show for your imaginary listeners. I'm actually doing it this weekend to practice for a show in July. But that horror movie thing. Let me just tell you really quickly. When they were talking about Lover's Lane and all these things, I love horror movies. I can't watch those kind of movies. I'm not talking about the vintage, 1930s, 40s horror. I'm talking about stuff like this, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th. I can't watch this stuff. I become such a big baby and such a big pussy in my old age. Somebody told me I had to watch a movie called X. It's about these people shooting an adult film. It was very reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they're shooting it in this, farmhouse, a place like Texarkana. And they said, you got to see this. It's not that bloody, but it's really scary. I can only watch 10-minute increments and shut it off because I'm such a big baby.
Wow, it was that scary? Is that right?
It's not that it's not scary to somebody who's not old and frightened, who lives in a haunted house. Somebody was murdered in my house, which is a whole nother podcast.
What?
But
what?
Before I lived here, I had nothing to do with it. So I'm not taking responsibility for the dead guy.
Thank you for the clarification.
So this is what happened. My home, many years before I lived here, and they don't have to tell you this if there's like a 5-year window. Back in the 60s, one of the original owners of this house, he was a doctor, and he couldn't find any work. I guess he was working for UCLA or Cedars-Sinai or something, and he had lost his job. He was having personal problems, and his girlfriend had left him, or his wife left him, and he was living in this house that I'm in now, and he shot himself in my bedroom. And the reason I know this is my next door neighbor who had been living here, his mail was piling up, and they came into the backyard. They went into my bedroom, and they found the guy not only dead, but his brother told me. I met his brother years later, said it's like the Twilight Zone, said there was a message on the machine for a job offer and an apology from his girlfriend. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's so eerie.
I was on the road all the time, and my wife and daughter, who were very susceptible to believing all kinds of haunted house crap, only so much of that. I mean, even if 1% of that is true, like flying saucers, something's real out there. They said all kinds of wacky stuff was going on, and my dog was barking at all kinds of stuff. They said, it could be rats in the ceiling. So there was a lot of wacky stuff going on in this house. And even though I haven't seen any of that for years, when you watch a scary movie, that comes back to you. So,
sure, absolutely. Wow.
But
there it is, movies, X. Okay. There's the Too Intense for Bobby Slayton.
Great. It's really, really well done. And if you like, I don't want to say slasher movies, but it's just one of those classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of films. But the other night, I was watching Turner Movie Classics or Turner Classic Movies. I don't know. And Weekend at Bernie's comes on. And I don't know when this piece of crap became a classic. But right after Weekend at Bernie's, I hadn't seen this in years, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Do you remember this movie?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Rebecca De Mornay, who,
Yeah.
I don't know if she's around anymore, but she was like Sharon Stone, Basic Instinct, Taylor Swift, gorgeous.
Right.
So,
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right. So the description says psychological horror thriller. And I hadn't seen it in years, and I watched the movie, and it was basically about a babysitter, a hot babysitter, who wants to kill the wife and have sex with the husband. You can't find help like that today for $4 an hour. When did that become a horror film? To find a hot-looking broad that's going to kill your wife and make love to you.
Yeah.
See, that to me, people misinterpret films. That's a beautiful movie. I should be a film critic.
You should
More
be.
importantly, can I get one word in? So more importantly, speaking of family, my girlfriend says hello. Okay.
She is
to you
so
and Courtney.
terrific.
Courtney, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound
Always
really happy to
love-
be here. Yeah, I'm still here. I don't really want to be here.
Yeah,
but I'm here.
I know.
My girlfriend said to say hello. And,
Oh, hi.
well,
And
not-
she's
not
wondering
listening
here
right now.
is Sandy in the chat. I love The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and I've often wondered why Rebecca De Mornay didn't become a bigger star after that movie. That's interesting, Bobby. She did have a moment, but yeah, she faded quickly, huh?
Okay, well, she's a lot like Bobby Slayton with a vagina. She's beautiful. She has a lot of talent, and nobody knows why he didn't make it. She faded quickly. Bobby faded quickly. I should be married to Rebecca De Mornay. Two faded stars with an amazing amount of talent going nowhere.
Rod says he met her once in Maui. She was
Okay,
very
let's get
nice.
over it. Never mind Rebecca De Mornay. Can we get back to me? I'm sorry I brought it up. You really care about Rebecca De Mornay? Get her on your stupid show. Okay, holy shit. Okay.
Okay.
God, was she beautiful. And you know who her father was?
Oh, Wally George?
Wally George, that crazy idiot.
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
first, not quite Alex Jones, but he was that kind of Alex Jones combined with Dr. Phil and Phil Donahue. And remember, he had that wacky show, that right wing, and like a Morton Downey Jr.
American
type of
flag,
show.
and
Yeah.
See if you can get a still of Wally George up there, Tony, because he was a phenomenon. A lot of like frat boys would show up at his tapings.
Oh, was he horrible?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah. Well, don't put Bobby Slayton's name up there next to Wally George.
First of all, I'm still upset that I had the wrong dates on my website. But
Well, now but Cap's website has the dates correct, is what
thank
John's
God somebody's
saying.
got it correct.
Yeah, and there are the correct dates on our screen now. 6/21, 6/22. That's this weekend at Caps in Brentwood.
Yeah. Anyway, it's really scary for me because as you know, I've told you this before, I don't really do stand-up. Get Wally George out of there. Thank you. I'm not bringing up any other people. I don't want to see them during my 3 minutes of fame here on the imaginary show of Mark Thompson. And,
I remember seeing you years ago, says Cecilia Rhodes. It was in Lake Tahoe. I think it was the show you were doing the same night that you had married your wife earlier that day. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah. Not only did I marry, oh my God, not only did I was playing Caesar's Tahoe, and they had a comedy club up there. And my wife, and she wasn't, I wasn't planning on, she wasn't, she was, she had the baby early. She wasn't supposed to have the baby for another 6 weeks. So I figured I could squeeze one more date in. Caesar's Tahoe, it's good money, and who doesn't love Tahoe? So that afternoon, they called me up. Your wife is giving birth. So I had to fly to Tahoe. Not the easiest place to get out of on a moment's notice. You know, it might not be Texarkana, but you have to go to Reno and get a plane, and it was crazy.
Right.
So I had to cancel my show, which I've never done before. And I get to the Santa Monica Hospital. I burst into the room, and the first words out of my mouth, "Is the baby white?" And there was a black woman with her baby right next to my wife. I didn't see
That's Slayton's thing. He does that, inappropriate crap. So did you do a show? I saw you at another show in Tahoe with, I want to say, Kevin Pollak and Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey, yeah. That was great. Dana, I think Dana was kind of doing us a favor. I don't think, was he on SNL by then? I guess he I don't know if he was on SNL by then. Huh?
I think he was pretty big by then, yeah, but maybe not, yeah.
Well, Dana was really big even before SNL because he did a lot of other stuff. But he was on. I got to host the show, and it was me. I remember this. And Pollak, of course, is great, our buddy Kevin Pollak. But and Dana was headlining, and we all got paid the same. It was a great weekend hanging out with my friends. And because Dana was kind of, I'm not going to say a family act, but because he was on SNL and he had a couple of other things, there was some people in the front row with children, And
Oh
my act is
no.
not
Oh no.
exactly
No,
fun for
your
the whole
act is
family.
inappropriate, and yeah,
It's barely appropriate for grown-ups, let alone
yeah.
for
But
children.
that's kind of your trading in that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why this weekend, you know what I'm doing in at Cap's Oak Street Bar and Grill in lovely Brentwood. Which, by the way, have you ever been? It's not the Brentwood we know in California, in
Right. It's
Southern
Northern
California.
California.
Little
Right.
town, great little restaurant. And I played there a few times, but I'm rehearsing for this thing in Montreal, the Montreal Comedy Festival. I talked to you about that off the air the other day. It was the biggest comedy festival in the world. Hundreds of comedians over a 3-week period. It's, all these venues, theaters, clubs, cafes. The whole town of Montreal is inundated with comics, and it's really good. So they went bankrupt, and the ex-president calls me up and goes, there's no comedy in July in Montreal. People are missing comedy. Why don't you come up? We have a beautiful venue that's kind of like the Rainbow Room in New York. It was this defunct room that they rebuilt. It's Art Deco masterpiece, and it's like 500 people. So why don't you come up and do your show? I hosted a show for years called The Nasty Show, which was, I don't want to say just blue, but there were guys like Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan before they were big stars. And they all did the show. And so
And where
now,
was that?
it was in Montreal. We did it at this big
I see.
theater.
Okay.
We did it every year, and we sold it hundreds and hundreds of tickets. But now that those guys are big stars and the festival's defunct, they want me to come
Well,
up.
that's amazing, by the way, because the festival was sort of like one of the cornerstone comedy festivals in the world.
It was, I think, it was the
Montreal
first one. It was this, they do them all over the place now. There's a couple of big ones in Ireland and
I see. So
and
they
Australia.
just got- okay.
But that was the granddaddy of all festivals, and it was so well run and so magnificent. And then they did a French week, which nobody gave a rat's ass about because French people aren't funny. They walked around on stilts and eating escargot and.
Well, the
whatever.
pantomime stuff is
Awful. But the American, every agent, every manager was up there, and it was really quite an experience. And I hosted it for years and years. So I'm going to go back in July. So now I got to practice. Here's the problem: they advertise it. If you go on, you can find it. Bobby Slayton is back, nastier than ever, and I'm thinking, I'm not that nasty anymore. I'm tired and cranky. If they were, Bobby Slayton's tired. He's effing cranky. He's cranky, Bobby Slayton. The Cranky Show. The crankiest guy ever. It's more of a Larry David cranky than a Sam Kinison nasty. I like to think maybe I'm a combination of nasty and cranky.
So you have to find your nasty again? Is that what you're saying for Montreal?
I got to find my nasty. And, without the cocaine and without the being married and angry and without the vodka, there were things that stimulate. And when you're around other comedians who are all nasty, everybody's getting nasty. Oh, all angry. It was like all these sumo wrestlers getting ready to a bunch of rattlesnakes.
Yeah, it's hard to out nasty. These guys are they've been trafficking in nasty for a while. I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
And everybody puts on their best nasty. Everybody
there it is. Bobby Slayton will bring much needed nastiness to Montreal in July. Wow, they really hit the nasty.
Yeah. You've got a lot to live up to.
Yeah. And now my girlfriend's coming with me. So, there'll be no cocaine, no hookers. There would have been anyway. There never were hookers, but
you
Then why even
you
do
don't
it?
know this about Bobby had a residency in Las Vegas, so he's playing a Vegas showroom night after night, and but he's worked out every day, didn't gamble, no coke, he makes a lot of those references, but that's not really who he is.
No, not at all, not at all. In the old days in San Francisco, there were a few nights, but people always thought because I talk fast, I got bad sinuses.
Yeah,
there was always drugs involved, and it wasn't.
Yeah, it's a fun reference, but yeah.
I'm more like Dean Martin, who drank apple juice that wasn't bourbon, than Keith Richards, who was staying up for 9 days in a row. You know what I mean?
So that was not alcohol in Dean Martin's hand when he go out on stage?
No, very rarely. And the only reason I know is not an expert about the Rat Pack, but when I did the movie on HBO and I played Joey Bishop back in the 90s, I read not only every book about the Rat Pack, not only saw every drop of information about the Rat Pack, but I got to talk to all these guys that, between Buddy Hackett and Carl Reiner and Joey Bishop and, Dean and Frank were already dead by then, but
you spoke so before you played Joey Bishop in the Rat Pack thing on that movie, the Rat Pack movie, which you were in.
Right.
You spoke with Joey Bishop and all those other guys you just mentioned?
Joey Bishop, I had actually a really bad confrontation with on God, who is it? Who is the radio guy in Chicago? And I know you know him.
Oh, Mancow or
No, before that idiot.
Lujak, Larry Lujak, or I don't know
the
who
guy. I know I'll think of him in a minute, but
Chicago.
I'm having a hard enough time remembering my material for this weekend at Cap's Oakwood Street Bar and Grill, June 21 and 22, not July, 9 p.m. show.
Yeah, there it is.
Our old friend Sam
Oh,
Van
that nice
Zandt.
job. There it is. Caps Comedy Nights with Bobby Slayton, Armed and Dangerous, they say. It's Friday night
came
and
from the
Saturday
new-
night in Brentwood. That's in Northern California, Brentwood, Bay Area people. There's a 9 o'clock show Friday and Saturday night in Brentwood at Caps Comedy. So anyway, go back to Joe. But first of all, for younger boys and girls, Joey Bishop was this guy who, how would you describe him?
Jew.
Okay, but he came
One
on.
word. Wait, Joey Bishop was one of those Catskills, Borscht Belt comics that went on to become a Vegas icon, and they used him in the Rat Pack as kind of Frank and Dean and Sammy were all over the place, and they were drinking, having a good time. They kind of called him the traffic cop. So he would go on and open the show, and he would go on and in between to keep the banter going. And
he was very hosty. Like there he is hosting his own show. He hosted the Tonight Show when Carson wasn't there. He was very,
I'll tell you a great story. This is a well-known story. When they gave him the Joey Bishop show, they gave a lot of people shows to go against, Johnny Carson. Years later it was Joan Rivers. Jerry Lewis had a show that was very, very short-lived. They were all going against Carson, and nobody could topple this guy. And Joey Bishop had a late-night show. Whatever his problem was, Regis Philbin was his Ed McMahon. Regis Philbin was, his co-host. And Joey, this is live TV. Before that, the 7-second delay or tape the night, 4:30 in the afternoon. Joey in the middle of the show, and he was only on for a little while, a few months or maybe a year, walked off the show, mid-show, and left Regis Philbin sitting there like an idiot, And Regis,
he walked off the show. Why?
Well, he just quit, and he couldn't wait. He couldn't do it before the show or after the show. He did it in the middle of the show, walked off, whatever the problem was. So Regis came to my show years later. I was about to play Joey in the Rat Pack movie, and Regis, who was the nicest guy in the world, I didn't really know him very well. We had drinks a few times. Could not have been a nicer guy, Regis Philbin. He comes to my show at Caroline's Comedy Club on Broadway. And after the show, I said, Regis, I'm playing Joey Bishop in this new Rat Pack movie. Can you tell me anything about Joey? And all he said to me, the man was evil. You don't expect Regis Philbin. Carl Reiner, who's the nicest man in the world. We became friends. I'm not trying to drop names. I'm just trying to tell you these comedy icons who I revered and grew up watching as a little kid. And Carl Reiner had nothing to say good about him.
So
Buddy Hackett, Don Rickles.
You actually had a run-in with him or not?
Okay, I was
on
or
a exchange with him. Go ahead.
As soon as we hang up, I'm gonna tell you who the show was.
But by the way, this is again, and what we're talking about this because again, Bobby played Joey Bishop in the Rat Pack movie.
Right.
Go ahead, sir.
So Joey, I didn't realize he was on the phone. God damn it, it's really pissing me off that I can't remember. The guy calls me up from Chicago, and he doesn't tell me Joey Bishop is on the other line. He doesn't tell Joey Bishop that I'm on the line. Now, Joey allegedly, and I've heard this from many, many, many people, was a horrible womanizer. He cheated on his wife like crazy. This is what I heard. Frank was Frank. Dean was a pretty loyal. Dean didn't really care about alcohol and women that much. He would sit in his room with a glass of milk watching Westerns after the show and get up the next morning and play golf. So Joey, he's on the other line, and I don't realize this. He thinks he's being set up. We're both being set up, and they started asking me questions about Joey Bishop. And I said, well, I heard Joey was not the nicest guy in the world, not realizing Joey's on the other line. And he starts screaming at me, you little bastard, I'll kill you. Joey was like 5'6", 5'7". I'm not much taller than that. He was like a boxer when he was a young guy in Philly. He starts screaming at me. So I calm him down on the radio. You know what? I'll find the tape and give it to you. You can hear this. And once I start telling him how much I love him. And I thought he was the greatest comic ever. And I start talking about Joey. He calms down. We're talking about Joey. And we finally hang up, and Joey stays on the line to talk to me after we're off the radio. And he goes, "How dare you call me a womanizer?" And I go, "No, Joey, I didn't mean that. I meant that you loved women and they loved you." But I'm trying to, I'm trying to get myself out of this. And I finally invited him to the premiere of the Rat Pack movie, and he wanted to have nothing to do with it because he said you can't really create the magic we had. And I think
that's wild though, because
and we didn't really recreate it in 90 minutes. It's Ray Liotta and the great Joe Mantegna, Frank and Dean, and Don Cheadle, who went on to greatness and Academy Awards, played Sammy, and everybody said to me, "You were a great Joey Bishop." All I had to do was slow down a little, cut my hair in that monk hairdo, "Hey, Dean, hey, Frank, let's go." It sounded like the ants from the Aardvark, like Jackie Mason. And hey, wow, you were so good.
There it is. There it is. There you guys are. It was great. It was. I enjoyed it, but I mean, maybe I always am giddy when you're in something. So,
you get giddy over me? Well, that's so cute.
I do. Well, I do. I'm excited. I love it when my friends are in something. I love to support. All right. So, speaking of that, again, Bobby will be in and around and on stage at Cap's Bar and Grill in Brentwood. It's this weekend, Friday and Saturday night. You can get tickets, capsrestaurant.com. Go to the events section of capsrestaurant.com. Friday and Saturday night.
Can I tell you one more thing before we go?
Please.
Because the murder people, the Texas Chainsaw people went over and took 6 minutes that I could have been on the radio,
Courtney, Bobby felt you went on a little too long. You got cut into his time.
Oh, is that Courtney talking?
Yeah, now you've got me. I'm pissed.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Well, women, look, let's be honest. Women do go on a little long. This is
Okay,
why,
thank God you saved it.
This is why, no, I'm not. This is my Joey Bishop moment. But this is why.
Who is having that conversation?
The fact that women talk a lot, which is my reason, not that my girlfriend or wife ever would have done this. The reason one of my biggest nightmares in life would be have a menage a trois, 2 women at one time, because all I keep thinking about, doesn't matter how gorgeous they are, it can be Taylor Swift and Rebecca De Mornay, but that's 2 women you have to talk to after. That, to me, I would kill myself.
My words upset so many people.
A nightmare. Wait, so let me tell you this quickly.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
No, first of all, I want to give a plug to that great restaurant the 4 of us had dinner at, that vegan Donick Jean.
Oh, that's terrific.
So
that's
good.
a great
That was one of the
great
best
spot.
pizzas I've had. I know you guys loved it because you're vegans. My girlfriend and I are very picky about our pizza. We both loved it. And I can't even believe I'm saying I love vegan pizza because if people from my neighborhood back east knew, I would never be allowed back in New York telling them I love vegan pizza. But here's what I want to tell you, Mark. My daughter's a vegan.
Oh,
She's
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Your daughter's a
strict vegan. Is it vegan? It's vegan.
Vegan, of course. You know that.
Strict.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't pretend.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. She is now eating eggs.
Oh?
Is that really a crime in your world?
Oh, it's not. I mean, it's not pure vegan. You don't have anything from an animal, but it's not. I mean, look,
What
everybody.
if that was your daughter? Would you disown her?
No, I would be okay.
What if your
I'd be
vegan
okay
daughter
with it.
came home and said, "Dad, I'm a stripper making it $5 an hour, or I'm eating eggs"? The stripper would be better than yours. Okay.
I do decry animal cruelty of any kind, but I also understand everybody to their own lifestyle. I'm excited that there'll be some vegan options. Bobby Slayton performs at Cap's Bar and Grill in Brentwood.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't want to eat the chicken parm, which is great, they do have bread and apple juice. Right? Diet Coke for crazy vegan
We don't have.
people.
I'm guessing there are no vegans watching, so don't worry about vegan options. But
I don't think anybody's watching. I don't think anybody's watching.
Dining room and patio dining. Order for pickup, Bobby, at Caps in Brentwood in Northern California, the Bay Area. I'm going to say, like, one of the great birthplaces of, in your origin story goes back to the Bay Area. And
I started there. People would go, "Where are you from?" And I went from New York, but I left New York when I was 20. I lived in San Francisco for a solid 10 years, opening up for rock and roll bands. And I'll tell you, all the bands I opened up for at the Keystone, at the Old Waldorf, at the Boarding House, at the Great American Music Hall. I know you know all those venues. It was the hardest thing for a comic to do. We all did it. Dana did it. The late Bill Rafferty, Robin did it. I did it. And it was very, very tough. But I'm more frightened about going to this little 100-seat venue this weekend because I haven't done stand-up. You know, look, my notes. I have notes.
It's wild to hear Bobby sort of like, a little anxious about his set. I love it.
Because I don't know.
How long do you go? You do an hour? How long do you go on?
I'm going to stretch 20 minutes of material to an hour. I'm going to talk really.
Yeah, is the crowd before you come on going, Bobby, Bobby, Bobby? You need me there to get the crowd warmed up with Bobby, Bobby. I'm telling you.
Well, I'm excited because Sam Van Zandt, another radio legend from the Bay Area.
Sure.
He's in the Radio Hall of Fame as a Terry McGovern. Are you in the Radio Hall of Fame?
All right, Bobby, I got to wrap up. I mean, I really think I really.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
You've hurt me. You cut me to the quick. You really.
I want you to listen to me. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I think is a bullshit organization, the Jay Giles Band, the New York Dolls. There's a lot of great Procol Harum, Jethro Tull, Paul Revere and the Raiders. They're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're great. So just because you're not in some stupid Hall of Fame doesn't mean you're not great.
I love that. Thank you. You stuck the landing. I love it. Okay. Bobby, this weekend in Brentwood at Cap's Bar and Grill. Go to capsrestaurant.com. Go to the events section. Get yourself tickets and tell me about the show. I'm so excited that you made some time. And then you're on to Montreal. This is the set that he's then going to work out and then take to Montreal to the festival.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm not sure. And by the way, the show, it's a 9:00 show. I'm probably on 9:20, 9:30. I'm usually asleep by then.
I know he likes it early, man. Yeah. We go to dinner with the Slaytons. It's
like a 4:30 or
it's the Slaytons, and he goes, I want to see. Can we get a reservation at 4:45? Bobby, the restaurant doesn't open till 5.
But here's the other reason: we like to go swimming after. In my girlfriend's pool, and you know how it is in LA. It's like been 90 degrees the last 2 days, and by 5, 6 o'clock, the fog's rolling in. It's like London after midnight. It's like a Sherlock Holmes movie. And it's freezing outside. It's like it's global warming crap. I've had it.
Bobby, we love you. Come visit again. Bobby Slayton, everybody.
I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Bye, Bobby.
Bye.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.